from the Daily Caller. Matthew Boyle is with us on the program. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me, Cam. And by the way, did you know I was the one who broke the story, too, on CBS and Washington Post?
Oh, you were?
That right before the break, so yeah.
Good. A double feature then.
So.
I've got to ask you about this. I don't know. So you heard me talking about the Associated Press then a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I was watching right up before the show.
It's just fascinating how some of these things just kind of all come out around the same time. Tell me about the Washington Post and CBS, because I have a feeling I probably messed up the telling of this story, and since I've got the author here. What was going on?
I mean, really what's going on there is that, in addition to several other huge corporations, including General Electric, which, hasn't paid any U.S. taxes this year, but the two news organizations applied for and got taxpayer money, and they failed to tell their audience about it. So, as Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn told me, how can you kind of expect them to tell the truth, I don't know. There might be a bit of a conflict of interest there when they're benefiting from this highly political legislation.
Yeah, it's and it's interesting, and I'd love to hear. Did any of the suits at the Washington Post or CBS respond to you, Matthew?
Actually, yeah. A CBS executive actually did answer a few questions for me on the phone before he hung up on me. But he did. I asked him. I was like, so because it's not the news part of the company that's getting it. It's the whole company.
Right.
So, you'd figure, okay, well, maybe they're using it for other people, not newsroom people. Maybe they're exempt. Maybe that's the case, right?
Yeah.
So, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I asked him, I was like, are newsroom employees able to get a hold of this money too? And sure enough, why should they be any different than the rest of the CBS employees? So there you go. Newsroom employees have the ability to benefit from taxpayer money. Now, granted, that money isn't going to them while they're working. But
right.
Once they retire, if they retire early, like before Medicare eligibility age, they can benefit from taxpayer money.
It would have been such a simple thing, Matthew, for these agencies to simply say. They didn't need to make a big deal about it. They didn't need to, big 80-point type on the above the fold on the Washington Post. We're taking your money,
but just don't ignore it.
Right? Exactly. Well, I'm glad that you uncovered that. I thought it was a fascinating story, and I'm also really glad that. You, sir, are among a elite cadre of journalists who are actually reporting on Fast and Furious and ATF's Operation Gunrunner. So I congratulate you on that, Matthew.
Yeah, it's one of those programs that it's like, really? Did you really think this was a good idea? The thing is that it's just a matter of time before Congressman Darrell Issa gets a hold of these documents. Congressman Darrell Issa being the chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. But the thing is once these documents come in, it's just going to be a matter of time before we find out who made this decision to allow guns to be smuggled over the border and illegally sold to drug cartel members in order to try to track them after they use them and leave them at crime scenes using ballistic information and serial numbers. And the funny thing is that when you use a gun and leave it at a crime scene, it usually means you killed somebody.
Yeah.
And the thing is there's also a possibility that a U.S. Border Patrol agent, Brian Terry, was shot with one of these guns, and that's something that it's not definite at this point, but it's a possibility, and it's something that Congressman Issa is looking into.
Yeah, and help me out here, Matthew. You say in your story that Issa issued the subpoena after ATF failed to meet its deadline for a document request. ATF's deadline is 5 p.m. next Thursday. Is that the new deadline, or
that's the deadline for the subpoena, meaning that they are legally obligated to provide this documentation by that time. The first time around, it was a request. He was being nice. He was saying, "Can you send this information along? I want to look into this." Well, they ignored him.
Okay, and then we've
They
also
blew off the request. So now they're legally obligated. There's a difference. So, like, and he also has a request into Secretary of State Hillary Clinton because this involves Mexico. Of course, the State Department has to be involved in this decision as well. And at that point, at the point they're at with the State Department right now is the request date. She hasn't issued a subpoena to them. We'll see if they provide the documentation. It remains unclear. But
okay, I guess we'll have to see. And it's it's interesting. I don't know if you saw the request from Representative Issa, but he specifically referred to a meeting that may have taken place in Mexico City last summer between the U.S. ambassador and the Assistant Attorney General. This is really the first time, Matthew, as we ask, okay, how high up did this go? Who knew about this? This is the first time that we've actually gotten a couple of fairly high-placed names that may have had awareness of.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of decision that doesn't get made by even the heads of local heads of organizations. One of the guys I talked to, Phil Jordan, who used to head up the Apostle Intelligence Center, which is interagency task force. It has the DEA, ATF, FBI, a couple other different law enforcement agencies work out of there, and they're anti-drug cartel task force, right? And what he's saying is that this kind of a decision comes from the secretary, not the attorney general. It comes from the political appointees level. And he says if Eric Holder didn't make the decision, he at least knew about this well in advance, and if he wasn't briefed daily on a program of this controversial nature, he was at least briefed weekly. So but the thing is that
would directly contradict what President Obama has said.
Right.
And what Attorney General Holder has said.
Holder isn't on the record right now about this. He hasn't said anything about it. But President Obama has said that he and his Attorney General, Eric Holder, don't know about this and didn't know about it until it came to light. Which there's a possibility that the president didn't know about it, but there's, the thing is that it remains unclear, and the Attorney General has yet to come out and tell the American people on the record whether he was involved or knew about this ahead of time.
All right. Well, Matthew, again, I think it's great that you're keeping up with this story, and I'm assuming that you'll have new information at the very least sometime next week.
Yeah, we should have something pretty soon. And then also, I wanted to point out one more thing too on the CBS Washington Post thing.
Yeah,
that information was in public records. That was already available. I just had to find it. It wasn't like I had to dig through or get special requested information. So I mean, that stuff's out there, and this kind of stuff is that blatant. So
wow. Well, again, it was great finding. It was a great find, Matthew, and again, really pleased we could have you on the show. Look forward to talking again soon.
All right, sounds great, Cam. Thanks for having me.
You too, Matt. Have a great night. Matthew Boyle joined us from the Daily Caller.